Good morning, good afternoon or good evening wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome to another episode with Handyman Dan. On today's episode we are pulling out and potentially replacing the master cylinder in the Toyota Coaster bus. I'll run through the diagnosis of how I got to that diagnosis, I guess, to think that it is a master cylinder. And yeah, we'll pull it out, and then tomorrow's Monday, so we'll take it down to a place to get them to do a test on it, and then to get them to re-sleeve it. We'll probably go with a stainless steel sleeve so then it's not an issue in the future. So when we picked up the bus at auction, when we drove it back, we had leaking brake fluid onto the floor from here, and the brake fluid is coming out the top of the reservoir up in here. So yeah, it's weeping out of the top of here and running down onto the floor. So with that, my guess is that somewhere in the diaphragm, like the O-rings and stuff for the master cylinder, it's kind of not letting it through and then pushing it back, but we'll find out. We also don't have much on the brake pedal, so the bus, when we're driving it, you pretty much like pump, and then it just keeps fading. It doesn't hold pressure, and then the fluid will come spew out of the top here. That's my diagnosis, and we'll pull it out and send it off to get tested, and then we'll find out if that is the actual problem. So this, we didn't actually need to take the dash off, but I was just more curious to have a decent look and see if I can see any other issues from where anything's leaking or anything like that, just to pull it off and give everything a real good check over. Now we have to disconnect and pull out this steering assembly. I have to pull the front of this off, so there's two Phillips head screws. So yeah, and then there's just clips there, and there, so we just need a flat blade screwdriver. Alrighty, so now we need to put a mark on this steering shaft to line it up. So get a permanent black text or a permanent texture of some description, and we'll just draw a line. It'd be better to use a nail or something and scratch a pretty decent scratch into it to line it back up with. I did the permanent texture and it wasn't there when I went to put it back on, but luckily I took a photo and kind of had a mental image of where it was sitting when I went to put it back on. Yeah, so we get that to line up like that. We'll also take a photo. As you can see, this has like an adjusting knuckle on it, and that knuckle is towards the back as well, so as long as we have that kind of parallel towards the back, that should get us in the right spot. Yeah, we'll throw the phone in there and take a photo. We'll need to loosen off the bolt on the back side that's clamping it to the shaft, which is this one here. It is a 12mm. We'll get there. Yeah, so we just loosen that one off, so then when we undo the shaft we can pull it up and out. Alrighty, hopefully that's loose enough, and now we can jump inside and start pulling some other things apart. Okay, so now we've just peeled back the lino. As you can see, there's a lot of sand under there, so while we're here we'll also give it a good clean out. We'll undo these four. So there's 1, 2, 3, this backside, and then 4. Undo those 4, and then there'll be a few under here, and we should be able to pull this whole shaft out. They're also a 12mm. So undo the 2 on the floor. Two up here. I just unconnect this wiring harness. Out of the way. So we need to connect a few more wires, and I just can't get to them, so we're going to pull out this dash, and so it should have one bolt there, one bolt up in there, another bolt down there, another one up in there, and then one more over there. So we'll undo all of those. They're all 10mm. Okay, so we've got all of them out, and that's the top section loose. We had to undo this from the choke or the throttle control. That is a 22, And now I think there's just 4 from underneath that will undo. Now we can also take this out of the way and loosen this one off. There you go. Okay, hopefully that's bought us enough space to be able to get in and disconnect this clip, the blue one here. Got him. That's the one that we had to disconnect. We hopefully should be able to pull this. It was still pretty solid, so there was no way it was coming out without some gentle persuasion. The steering column knuckle just mounts onto a shaft, so I've just grabbed the breaker bar and just put it under it, and I'm tapping it with a hammer just to help push it up to separate it. I didn't get any footage of it, but yeah, I'm trying to explain it the best I can. So I put the breaker bar pretty much on that bolt and then just hit it with a hammer just to try and tap it up. Yeah, we're definitely coming up. Alright, so pull the dash out. I just had to unclip everything like that, pull out the aerial and stuff for the radio, disconnect everything, unscrew a few things, remove the speedo worm drive. Just need to be very careful with this. But yeah, this isn't what you have to do to complete this job. I've just done that extra just because I want to clean up everything back here where the brake fluids ran and stuff like that. Kind of once we pulled the steering column out, everything like that, the next job is to undo this, and that's just 3 bolts. 1, 2, 3. That'll be 12s. Now we can drain the brake fluid out of the reservoir, so I'll go find a syringe so we can use that. Another way also would be to pull off the hoses and catch the fluid. So we've just got this old sauce bottle, just pull the cap off for the brake reservoir, got a syringe, and we'll just syringe out all the old fluid. Alright, so I'm using a bit of a vinyl hose extension onto the syringe. So then we can drop this down and in, still draw up fluid. And as you can see, the fluid's definitely gotten dirtier as we've gone to the bottom. That's pretty much all we can get from out of the reservoir. So we just need to undo this one and that one, and then there's a couple at the back, so we'll start by undoing those. And then the next one, this one up in here. Got a couple of catch containers ready, and so now we can undo this one and this one. Also have a rag ready as well. 12 mil, perfect. Just to hold that, undo this. Just a little bit of brake fluid. Alrighty, we'll undo the one behind it. Alright, that's unclipped. The battery ran flat. That's unclipped. Just dripping into the catch can. If you ever get any on your hands and stuff like that, just make sure to go wash your hands, because brake fluid is very corrosive and not nice. So we've got another catch can, so we might undo this one, and then there's one back there. We'll undo them and pull off those hoses and try and catch any of the fluid that comes from them. And then that will only have the amount that's in the hose. So not heaps, but yeah, we'll try and catch that in. Pull this off. Just use these to break the seal. Okay, we'll try and pull this. Alright. Gonna break fluid in there. Back. Okay, that one's definitely got fluid in it. See, I tried to pull that one off the top, coated that loom and stuff a bit and got it all through there, so we'll have to clean all that up. Okay, so now we've done that, these other 3 that hold the master cylinder on. So now we should be able to pull this out. Just like that, one master cylinder. We're about to head down and get the master cylinder checked, just to make sure there's nothing wrong with it. We also could potentially, there could be an issue with this brake booster, so I'm going to pull that out as well. Basically, to start, there is this cotter pin at the back. I'll show you when I pull it out, but there's a cotter pin right at the back, so I pulled that out, and then there's just 4 bolts on the back of this. So if you reach your hand up behind, you'll feel the 4 bolts in line with it that mount it. So we'll undo them, and then this will just slide down and out. It's a clevis pin and a cotter pin at the back of the diaphragm, and there's just the 4 bolts on the back, and then the vacuum line in. My guess is 12mm, so we'll undo those 4. I don't know if that's really going to film much, but can't do much else. Okay, so we got it out. We just had to undo some mounting bolts from in there, a couple from under here, and then the ones along the front of the windscreen, and what was it? One back in there, by the clutch master. I think that was pretty much it. There's about 4 or 5 bolts total to undo. Just then we could rotate this up just that little bit to slip it out. But it's out, and we'll go get it tested. Because we have no service history with this bus, I just thought it would be good to pull the brake booster out, just because we don't know if it's ever been fixed or changed or anything like that. So just to go get it tested, because I definitely do not want to be pulling it out again, because it's not a fun job. Alrighty, so it's a couple of days later. I've picked up the parts from old clutch and brake, and we'll get ready and we'll put them back in. Alrighty, so I got them to test this brake booster, and then here is our rebuilt master cylinder. So that's been stainless steel sleeved. We'll chuck it all back in and then bleed the system, and hopefully everything works well. Alrighty, so first thing we'll do is we'll put this back in. So remember that this is the bit that goes back towards, that mounts back on there. But yeah, while I was waiting for this to get tested and the master cylinder to get repaired, I just threw the dash back in. I tidied up any bits that I needed to, threw the dash back in to get it all ready. Okay, so we want to line it up the right way with the vacuum hose. There we go. Yes! Sweet, okay, that's that in. That lines up nicely. We have the 4 mounting nuts at the rear, which will be 12s, and they are the ones with the thicker washer. So yeah, these are the ones with the thin washer. Thick washer mounts onto the back, and the thin washer ones are for mounting the master cylinder to the front of this. Okay, so now we've got that brake booster mounted up. So we'll install this, the brake master cylinder now. There'll be a packing plate, put that on, and then with your master cylinder you need to angle it at an angle like that, just because this first outlet or inlet, whichever way it is hits this section of dash. So you just have to angle it around that, angle it around the dash, line it up with the holes, and then you have to also get the prong that's at the back, get that sitting into the master cylinder. 4 ones with the thinner washer, just put the 3 on, starting from the driver's hand side, working your way back, just because there's a mounting bracket that runs across here that comes off the clutch master cylinder. And we can connect up both of the hoses. Sweet, and there's one at the back. That one's going to be a little bit harder to film and get to. So with a pair of pliers, we can do up this. Perfect. Just like that, and then we'll do the same one for the back. While we're here, we can also do this one on the vacuum line, the brake booster. Alrighty, so here's this mounting plate, just like so. So that mounts onto that bolt from the clutch master. this isn't a big rattle gun. This is just a small impact driver that has hardly any torque, so it's perfectly fine, but I definitely would not recommend using a big rattle gun.
Right, so now we've done that, we can put this mount back on for your brake lines, and we can install these brake line hoses. Don't mind the fingernail paint. I babysat my niece yesterday and she wanted to paint my nails, so I reckon it looks pretty good. While I had everything disconnected, I pulled the brake and clutch fluid reservoir out and gave that a really good clean because there was a lot of sediment down the bottom. So while you've got it all apart, you might as well, if there is some sediment and stuff like that, pull it all out and clean it all up so it's all brand new when you put it back together. So yeah, you just want to hold this, it's a 910, and then with a 12 you want to do it so it's like firm, you don't want to over tighten it. And keep an eye on it to see if they leak at all and nip them up more. You can see someone else has had a crack at this one before. And then that's pretty much all back in and ready. We can go through then and fix off the dash. Oh yeah, we'll quickly put that in. Do that up. Firm, doesn't need to be super tight. We'll do that last hose clamp at the back. So we can now install this steering column holder. It just has 3 bolts that mount back underneath. Okay. Alrighty, now we'll get ready to slide this steering column back in, so we'll peel this floor back. I'm just going to put a bit of multi-purpose grease just on the splines just to help everything slide back in, and the match mark that we put on there is definitely gone, but it's fine. I've got a photo just to line it up how it was. Try a little bit of grease on the splines.
So I just had to get my partner to hold the steering column shaft as I lined it up from the underside just so it could slip on the shaft.
Like this.
So now we've got that all fixed off, 4 bolts, and then the 2 holding the actual column, 2 there and the 4 around. We've done the steering column mounts back to this steering stay, and now we can hook up the wiring harness. So everything will just clip back in. That's them all sweet, and then we've just got these 2 over the other side. Okay, so we've hooked both of those up. These 2 here. Hook them back up, hook them up. That's that all sweet. So technically that should be everything done. So what I might do, reconnect the battery isolator, and I'll turn everything on and make sure everything works, like indicators, brake lights, driving lights, everything like that. If something doesn't, now's the time to be able to get access. And then brakes, sweet, so that's everything working. And now we can tighten up the bolt on the spline down there for the steering underneath. We'll do that, and then I think it's time to bleed the clutch and brakes.
Alrighty, now we'll just have to do up the nut for the spline. Bolt there, it goes in. It's all back snug down in there. You can see the photo we took beforehand, it's the same amount down on those splines, so I'm happy with all that. That's all.
So once you've put everything back together, you'll need to top up the brake reservoir with brake fluid and bleed the brakes. I didn't include that in this video as the video is getting pretty long, but if that's a video you'd be interested in, let me know in the comments and I'll make one specific for that. But yeah, I'll keep you updated. We'll take it for a test drive when we next drive it, and we'll see how it goes, but it feels 10 times better than it was, so hopefully we have achieved what we wanted to. But I hope you found something useful in this video, and yeah, if you enjoyed it, give it a like and subscribe for more, because we're doing lots more work on the coaster over the time. So yeah, cheers, thank you.